Good evening. I would like to welcome you to the Midtown Redevelopment Area Board meeting for Tuesday, July the 10th, 2012 in the City Hall Commission chambers. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Ms. Simonette?
Here.
Mr. McGee?
Here.
Ms. McMillan? Chairman Ivy?
Here.
Mr. Tooley?
Here.
Ms. Hurd?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Dr. Jameson?
Here.
Ms. Benjamin?
Here. Miss McMillan is here.
At this time, I would like for everybody to please stand as we have the invocation led by myself, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the Vice Chair, Ms. Patricia Hurd. Most gracious and Heavenly Father, this evening we thank you for allowing us to be here one more day. Father God, we ask you to just look down and have mercy upon us. We ask that you build us up where we've been torn down and strengthen us where we're weak. Father, bless us to continue to make decisions that's best for our community. This prayer we ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good evening to this board and to the audience once again. I'd like to take a few minutes out because it's a great day to be in Daytona Beach. It's a great day to be a citizen in the Midtown community and the city of Daytona. I want to take time out to recognize a very special guest today on this special day. For those of you who don't know, today is the birthday of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune.
Yes.
We're going to pause and do some things this evening a little differently. I would like to take the time to introduce to this Midtown board. I'm sure all of us have heard of him. I've only heard great things. I only heard one negative thing about him, that he had interim in front of his name. But I'm going to take the time out today and introduce the president of the great Bethune-Cookman University, Dr. Edison. I apologize. A lot of my mind on my plate. Dr. Edison, will you please stand? Edison Jackson. I stand. I want to thank Dr. Jackson for coming out this evening. I'd like to take this personal time to introduce you to the board one by one and welcome you to the city. On behalf of myself, him, Ms. Ivy, the chairman, I'd like to take this time to first introduce the board members, and I will let them do it one by one, starting with Ms. Simonette.
William Williams, also a Wildcat.
Dr. Irma Jameson, Rattler.
We're praying for her. Martin Tooley, but I'm a Tiger.
Pat Hurd, Wildcat.
Ken McGee, just your servant.
Shirley Benjamin, Florida Memorial University.
My.
Denise McMillan, Wildcat.
Sorry, I don't have a name tag. But I'm Ben Gross. I'm the board attorney for tonight's meeting. I'm pinch hitting for our usual board member.
And I'm Reed Berger, the Redevelopment Director, Go Michigan State. Yes.
And of course, our ex-chairman, Ms. Johnny Ponder, is in the front. One of the things I wanted to do with this here board, and not only one of the most important men in this community and the city,
Oh, thank you.
our how do we call him, director, chairman of the board of boards, the hardest working man in Daytona Beach, our director, Mr. Charles Bryant.
Redevelopment project
Manager.
also around.
Also, I would like to take time out again because some of the most important people in this community just came through our doors. And I want to take the time out to recognize some of the heirs of the Bethune, Mary McLeod Bethune legacy. Will you please stand up and give a round of applause to the Bethune family? And of course, we're going to ask that Dr. Jackson come forward because it's only fair that we recognize the Bethune-Cookman University family and Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune with a proclamation.
He's so nervous.
Yeah, I'm nervous. I really wanted this to come from the Midtown board, but they told me my protocol had to come through the city. But believe me, it's from the Midtown Redevelopment Board. Dr. Jackson. This proclamation reads, the city of Daytona Beach, the world's most famous beach. Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune birthday. Mary McLeod Bethune was born on July the 10th, 1875 in Mayersville, South Carolina to Samuel and Massey McIntosh McLeod and died on May the 18th, 1955 in Daytona Beach, Florida. She was married to Albertus Bethune and together they had one child, Albert Bethune. And at the age of 9, Mary McLeod Bethune was afforded the opportunity to attend school, thus launching her lifelong love of learning. She graduated in 1893 from Scotia Seminary and went on to attend Moody Bible College in Chicago. She returned to her home in South Carolina to begin a teaching career. And whereas in 1904, Mary McLeod Bethune opened a school for young girls in Daytona Beach, Florida, with 6 pupils, 5 girls, and her young son, Albert. She rented a house where her school occupied the first floor and her living quarters the second. This property would later become known as the Retreat. Whereas Dr. Bethune's school evolved from an early learning center into a high school and ultimately a 2-year college, liberal financial contributions from John D. Rockefeller, Henry J. Kaiser, James Gamble, and Thomas White, to name a few, were paramount to the success of her education endeavors. And whereas in 1925, Dr. Bethune College was merged with Cookman College for boys, where she remained as president and renamed the institution Bethune-Cookman College. Dr. Bethune was a forerunner in the development of economic growth. This proclamation is in the recognition of Dr. Bethune's birthday and gratitude for all of her contributions to this community. Now, therefore, I, Glenn Ritchie, Mayor of the City of Daytona Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, July the 10th, 2012, as Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune's birthday in the City of Daytona Beach. In witness thereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Daytona Beach, Florida, to be affixed this 9th day of July, 2012. Glenn Ritchie, Mayor. Thank you very much. I would like to take the time to offer you a few minutes, speak to the board, to the city, and to the citizens.
Chairman Ivy, members of this board, it is indeed an honor and a privilege for me to be here and to accept this proclamation. It is important for us to always remember those who were trailblazers, those who laid a strong foundation that we could use as a way of a launching pad to do great work. And I promise you that Bethune-Cookman University will become even greater than it has ever been. Because the truth of the matter is, God is in charge. And I know that I'm a man of faith. I know what God can do if we trust him. And if we allow ourselves to give him the glory and the honor. And because of my knowing that, I can stand on what he has already done, that he's going to do even greater things as we go forward. And we want you to know that Bethune-Cookman University belongs to you. Belongs to you. It is an asset, and we are going to be great stewards over this asset. And so we invite you to come to our campus and feel free, because you are a part of us. We can't be great without you. And so thank you so much for this honor. And on behalf of the Mary McLeod Bethune family, we cherish this and thank you so much for all that you do and all that you shall do, and to even do greater work with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One of the things I would like to do is have the board come down front along with Dr. Jackson and the Bethune family, and let's take a photo at this time, please.
Okay.
They were going to stay up there.
What I would like to do is take a 5-minute recess at this point in time, because we would like to make sure that the family have, we bought a cake in honor of Miss Bethune. I'd like to take a 5-minute recess, share that with you, and then we would come back in to the meeting and continue our business. So 5-minute recess. Thank you. And we're back in session again. Another point of action I wanted to talk about tonight before we get started on the remaining agenda. There's some things that's really been on my heart and mind on dealing with this board. One of the first things I want to do is thank the board for their support for Miss Benjamin during her mother time of sympathy. So, Ms. Benjamin, our sympathy went out with you. Our prayers are still with you. Amen. And we hope that you continue to support the board as we support you and your family. I want to make sure that we recognize her because she still was doing her job through everything. You know, we was talking about Dr. Bethune, and I don't know if a lot of people realize what Dr. Bethune really means to this community. So what we did was I wanted to make sure that we talk about some of her accomplishments as we get ready to move into our agenda tonight. It probably will enlighten you on how we are really in line with some of the things that Mary McLeod Bethune created for our community, because Bethune-Cookman College / University is actually in the heart of Midtown also. So some of her accomplishments were, and this is for your information, Dr. Bethune was a member of the War Commission back in 1943. Due to her urging, a boat factory was built on South B Street. It stands today. At this factory, PT boats were built and sent via Halifax River through Ponce Inlet to the Atlantic Ocean and out to war. The Pine Haven Project, as well as Halifax Park, was built due to Dr. Bethune's request for better housing in the Midtown area. She provided housing for all. WACS, that was Women Army Corps, training base was established out by the Halifax Hospital. Nurses were trained here to serve all over the world in the Army. The barracks that Bethune-Cookman had in the 1950s were the remains from the WACS training. There was a Veteran Advisement Center on the campus of Bethune-Cookman. All veterans had to come to this center to see if they were suited to go into the various vocations. In 1955, as a result of Dr. Bethune's death, the hotels were integrated here in Daytona Beach. Dignitaries from all over the world attended her funeral and required lodging accommodations. Little known facts about Dr. Bethune. It is my pleasure to thank this Midtown Redevelopment Board for their continued support, for believing in me as your chairman. Even more, I extend my thanks and gratitude to the immediate past chairman, Ms. Janet Ponder, for her bold leadership in making a change for this community, and the Midtown Redevelopment Board as well. Without Ms. Ponder's bold leadership, we would not have this Midtown master plan this evening. It is the first vision plan for the Midtown area ever. With that in mind, what better time than now to give a first State of Midtown address. Today is the anniversary of one of the nation's greatest icons. This icon was a trailblazer. She resided in Midtown and interceded for the citizens in that area regardless of race, color, or creed. This icon, with a vision far beyond her time, engaged in conversations for the good of all men. From the steps of Daytona Beach City Hall to the steps of the White House in Washington, D.C. and around the world. Very few citizens of Daytona Beach are aware of the fact that due to Dr. Bethune's efforts in 1924, water, sewer, and electricity were installed on the west side of the railroad tracks. As the first State of the Midtown message, I take great pride in sharing our vision for our community. Since the inception of this board in 1998, formerly known as the West Side Redevelopment Board, Midtown remains a blighted community. Not to be discouraged, there have been some accomplishments. In 14 years, the accomplishments only come to mind are the Midtown Cultural Center, the Pine Haven Development, the Daytona Village, ISB Streetscape and Lighting, and the paving of some streets. 4 out of the 5 projects were funded by grants, not city tax dollars or revenue from the city's general fund. There are only 3 private new investments made in the Midtown area, and they were the Burlington Coat Factory, the Busy Bee 2 restaurant, partially funded by Midtown, and the Ivy Ferguson Reed building located on Lincoln Street. As chairman of this board, I've seen firsthand how this community is being underserviced and highly underfunded. These negative actions have a serious effect on our community. We, the citizens of Midtown, are much like Orange Avenue. We have a number of bumps in the road, and we're being flooded due to the lack of transparency. We have been shackled with staggering economic issues. As we attempt to send changes forward by using the established process or ordinance, our actions are cut down like the lilies in the field. But we are resilient as we continue to forge ahead. We must ask for reconsideration of our prohibited uses. There are those who have made it clear that our community's best interest is not a priority. Midtown continues to be the dumping ground for Daytona, just as the property for which Bethune-Cookman University sits on was once the city dump. But look at the beautiful campus now. From convenience stores with unhealthy foods to businesses that do not employ the citizens of Midtown, nor do they support the area, they make the money and take it back to their neighborhoods. There seems to have been a translucent enemy deployed to control, manipulate, hold back, hold down, and keep the Midtown community economically depressed. It is now time to stand up and support the Midtown Redevelopment Board. Its efforts and the master plan that provides a vision that will assist in making us economically sound as a community and be in the heart of Daytona Beach. Recently, this board, along with Florida A&M University School of Architects, took on the biggest step ever by completing and submitting a master plan. This plan provides a vision for future growth, development, and economic stability. I am truly grateful to this board, both past and present, for believing in the vision plan. We are now tasked with seeing this plan through adoption into law. We already know it will not be easy. So very often we are told it cannot be done or it is impossible. Well, this Midtown Redevelopment Board dreads to differ with these statements. We can make it happen if we remain focused, stay away from the negative, concentrate on the positive, and continue to do our homework. A recent example was our prohibited use list was voted down by the minority of our area. Individuals were lobbied not to let this board and the Midtown community move forward. Citizens, listen up. The proof is in the pudding. The Midtown Master Plan identified our 5 major corridors to engage in a facelift to become gateways to a stable community. Letters of interest from 2 hotel chains have been attached as a result of personal marketing our master plan. A Holiday Inn and the Indigo Suites have both expressed interest in our community. In addition, the Midtown redevelopment area now has an opportunity for a school of law to move to our community, and the undermining has already begun. It is this request of this board that the red carpet treatment be given to the Space Coast School of Law and the Midtown area, just as was recently done on Beachside for another business venture. This board has proven that we can make it happen when given the resources. Tonight, let us begin our forward progress with the adoption of the redevelopment plan, the master plan, and our comprehensive plan. The master plan was also included in the MetLife grant for the new housing development, the Daytona Villages 2, and is currently on its second round. I would like to take time to personally thank Attorney Debbie Holinsky, who is here present with us today. Ms. Holinsky, will you please stand? Ms. Holinsky has worked hard along with the Midtown community. Her plan, like I said, is on the second round. She has taken part of the master plan and included it in a grant that may have the opportunity to be awarded $25,000 for cameras and other uses over at the Daytona Villages 2. By using our master plan, she took it, included it, and is not a part of law yet. But that plan is a part of marketing on how we can move our community forward. I have given to the board, each of you, a copy of a letter that was sent from IHG, which is Indigo Hotel Group, that's interested in locating a Holiday Inn in the city of Midtown, Daytona Beach. So when people say that it can't be done, trust me, it can be done. If we use the plan that has been created by the Florida A&M University School of Architecture and Engineering, we can move this community forward. That's why I say to you tonight as a board, let us continue to go forward as one. Have our workshops, have our differences, but at the end of the day, let's change our community. That is what I have to say to start our meeting off tonight, and I hope that we can continue to move this board forward in spite of all that we have to fight. Stand up, stand tall, and let's stay focused. Thank you for taking that time to listen to me. At this present time, we will now move forward to the remaining agenda. Thank you. I'd like to know on item number 5, approval of minutes for May the 8th, 2012.
Just a couple of corrections that I saw in the minutes. There's a discrepancy on page 9 and on page 10. On page 9, it says that it was a unanimous vote, and somehow we ended up with 9 people being counted in the vote, when there's only 8 that should have been included. And on page 10, one place it says 8 people, and the other place it says 7 people. So we need to be sure that we get things a little bit more congealed and more correctly recorded. Other than those, I don't know if there's anything else that anyone else saw.
On page 9, it's S-Y-M-O-N-T-E-E.
Can we please make sure that we get those minutes corrected, please?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
on page, hold on. There's a statement that was made, and I stated on page 12, I said, it says Mrs. McMillan, for the record, is MRS period Cato, C-A-T-O. And it says, stated a person would have to use a ladder to put signs up. I stated that a person had used ladders because they know now that code enforcement is behind them. So instead of putting them in the ground and shoulder level, they're going way up the poles with these signs, and they have to either have a ladder or be on, I mean, they have some height to them now on the wooden poles. And also, something that came up with the lengthy discussion we had about Daytona Village. On page 11, for board comments, number 12, I firmly know that we were given a set of plans as to how the project would look the first time, but we did not receive the detailed plans until the following month. And I think that's why we had so much discussion on the pond and the playground and the signage, and I think that's why we have that. All I want to state is that we were given a set that was not the detailed architect design. It was just a rendition of the way it would look.
Okay.
But the second set we had, it was detailed with everything.
Okay, what I would like to do is, I believe if we went back and looked at the tape, we can make those corrections. And what we'll do, rather than pass the minutes tonight, we'll get a clerk time to look at the tape, adjust the minutes, and bring them back on the next meeting.
Other than that, I don't have any more corrections.
I'm sorry, Ms.
Mr. Chairman, the minutes can't be approved with the
necessary corrections.
Well, I agree. If that be the case, I have no problem making a change. If there's a motion for approval with changes, and a second.
I make a motion that the minutes be accepted with the necessary corrections.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposers? Motion carries. Next, we will have our staff report. If there's no questions dealing with the staff report or any comments by the board dealing with the staff report, you know, one of the things I talk about is let's read the information. If you got a question, ask it. If not, we'll move forward. But are there any code concerns out there at this present time? And before we jump and say yes, I'll go around the room. Ms. McMillan?
I just want to get an understanding that they will not be at our every meeting.
That is correct.
And that the properties that Mr. Bryant used to show us the before and after, that's all we'll be getting now when you do your reports, versus before we were getting pictures of properties that needed to be brought up to code, and then you would come back later. So now they won't come to every meeting, and at your report, you're showing us the before and after. Is that my understanding?
Actually, the report that you have in front of you was submitted by code. Unfortunately, you got it today because of the holiday, and I was on vacation. He didn't get it to me before I left, and so that's why you're just getting it today. Normally, you would get those in your packet. They will come in your packet. But the ones that I do myself, that I go out and find, you'll continue to get a report on those. As I would point out, I didn't do any pictures today, but I'll tell you about some demolitions that's going to be coming forward in the future. But I will make sure that you're aware of what's going on with code and with myself with demolitions and the area itself.
Okay, I've just seen some things that you presented to us, and they're being worked on. So I didn't know if at every meeting we get updates, or it's just a finished, either it's a demolition or it's been brought up to code.
Well, I will update you as best possible as what's going on in Midtown.
Okay, thank you.
What? Just a minute, Ms. Benjamin.
Charles, the building that's on Martin Luther King between Magnolia and what is ISB? What I had mentioned before, and I really don't see an improvement or anything over there. The ones that got the trucks and all that.
Yeah, it is my understanding that he has, Officer Lopez has went out and cited them. I don't know what the results of that. It takes a lot of time at points that they have to take them before the Code Enforcement Board, but I do know he did go at that particular site. I'll give you an update on that at the next meeting.
Any more? Mr. McGee? Ms. Simonette?
I just wanted to know from this, I noticed that both of the photographs has the same thing. Both of the photographs have the same date on it. Does this mean that they did one side of the church and not the other, or it still has to be done?
No,
Or one?
this is showing two sides of the church where the paint was peeling. The next photo shows that the paint is been up and they painted the church. Both of these was taken the same day, the first one of the church. The top photo shows one side of the church where the paint is peeling, and the bottom one shows the other side of the church. And if you go to the next photo, it shows that they've actually pressure washed the church and they've painted it. Yeah.
Mr. Williams,
No comment.
Dr. James,
No
Dr.
comment.
Cooley, Ms. Hurd.
Yes, Ms. Bryant, in the package also, the last picture, that, let them know that address is not correct. That is the Watson's Paint and Body Shop, I believe down on MLK, and they're using the church's address.
Okay, he had 401 South MLK on one and 513 South MLK on the other one. I'll make that correction with him.
Oh,
513. Okay.
513.
Okay.
Also, code enforcement. Are you taking the messages back to code or just what? Well, on the building in front of the Dickerson Center is being used for a church. That is a commercial building. I noticed they had painted a handicap parking space out there. They did clean that off of the sidewalk, but it is still being used as a church, and it's a commercial building. I want the same thing to happen there that happened on the corner of Magnolia in that building, Magnolia and MLK. Now, this has gone on long enough. Also, the hair shop next to churches, they have all of the windows covered. They have all of the windows covered right next to churches.
Songs Beauty Supply, SONGS.
Okay.
Point of clarification. Is there something in the comprehensive plan or the land development code that would stop a commercial entity from renting a building to whoever they want it to?
The land development code doesn't typically deal with the user. Instead, the code deals with the use. So without doing a thorough research, I'm going to tell you I think it's unlikely. I could research it and get back to you, but typically, like I said, zoning codes deal with the type of use and not the ownership arrangement among parties.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, before,
Yes.
as they say, piggyback. I'm going to piggyback off Mrs. Hurd. Throughout Midtown, just about every convenience store, when you pass it, their frontage is covered with lottery, beer, cigarettes. All the windows are covered. I didn't know it was a issue until I saw on television Snap, where the young man jumped the counter and assaulted the gas station owner out of Midtown, but it was out by Mason Avenue in that area. The report said there were actually people in the parking lot getting gas and everything, and if they had been able to see in, they fought for 15 minutes. He was stabbed, but if people had been able to see in, a citizen probably would have called the police. The owner eventually called when he got himself together. But when you go down Orange Avenue, MLK, and it's not a white-black issue, it's an owner issue, a lot of them are covering where the cash registers are, so people can't see them transacting from the outside. But you have entire stores. You cannot even see in to see if they're open. You're having to look up to see if lights are on. So I know with songs, and their signs go from the top of the window to the bottom. You know they're open because of a neon flashing sign. And Officer Lopez did tell us that there was in the code that storefronts had to be visible inside and out.
Charles, what we'll do is check the ordinance and then make sure we get with
I'll get with Officer
code,
Lopez.
and then before we can get back with them and make sure we send them an email and or a call. That way they'll know that things are being addressed by code.
Just one other place. On School Street, south of Bellevue, there are bricks right there on School Street. Beg pardon?
It's not in Midtown, I don't think.
School Street?
Well,
Does
it goes down, I think that, does the area go down up?
School Street on the east side of the,
No, School Street is on the right side of MLK.
West
It's
side.
west of MLK.
yes.
I think it.
Well, I think it is. You can check it. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and say what I'm about to say. There are bricks, rocks, right there on the road, right next to the road. If I had to pull to the side, I could not get out of the road because of the bricks there. Whoever owns that property, they do not own all of that. Part of it is the right of way. So they need to move it.
That's off of Bellevue.
Yes, it is behind the first house.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions? If not, we're going to go to number 7. It's an action item, amendment to the Midtown Redevelopment Plan. It's administrative request to amend and adopt the Midtown Redevelopment Plan to provide goals and policies necessary to implement certain provisions set forth in the Midtown Master Plan. There's probably a lot of questions on this, Reed. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Ms. Simonette and see if she have any questions. Now, like, if you have questions dealing with this particular item, please try to address them to Reed, and I'm going to say Ben, and that way you can get these questions answered before we take a vote on it. Right.
Sorry, I read the because this was the workshop that we did, and I went through it, and I think this is basically stuff that we really do need to approve. That was my comment. I have this done. Oh, I'm okay.
Sorry, Mr. Williams.
I do have did too also recognize that it was stuff that much of the stuff that we covered in the workshop. I had a basic question that I wanted to ask in relationship to the Midtown plan, and I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time to ask it. So I'll go ahead and ask it so that.
Any question is a good question. It's your time.
My question is as we're adopting the Midtown, and I started to ask this question about a month ago, 2 months ago. As we're adopting the Midtown plan, and in the interim, how do we bridge this gap so that we're not throwing good money after the bad? We have a plan, and it takes 2 to 3 years to come into fruition. In the meantime, you've had development that's going to be inconsistent with the Midtown plan. And how do we remedy that situation?
Can't.
That's and I was asking the question, and I made the suggestion about doing the research to find out how other communities remedy that, and keep from having development that's not consistent with this plan that happens within the next 2 to 3 to 5 years as this plan comes into fruition.
That's a good question. When I'm constantly meeting with Charles and Reed, some of the questions I ask is just what you asked. I don't think it should take us 2 years to get this plan implemented. We've finally got Professor Huffman on board, and he's being tasked with making sure we can move these plans along simultaneously, and hopefully that will cut down on the time. Those are some of the things I have been talking about in every meeting, probably 2 or 3 times a week, where you get a call from me, like, hey, if we're going to do this, we need to do it like this. Or we make suggestions going back and forth. But we just recently got the contract signed for Professor Huffman to come online, and we will be trying to move all the plans together at basically simultaneously time. I know Reed worked hard on getting a lot of the master plan vision is implemented now on the redevelopment plan. So that's a big step itself, because we're trying to line things up now before we can move it forward together. So I agree. I think we already have had a lot of this conversation, so that's a good question. But that is how we are trying to move it, because we don't want development to get caught up in something that we're trying to make changes on.
And that was part A of my question. The other part of that was about the city's comprehensive plan.
Ask it.
And how is the Midtown plan working along with the city's comprehensive plan?
That's a good question. I had that question also, but I was going to wait till the end. But Reed, I'll let you answer that question, because I have a list of questions also, but I want the board to make sure they have their questions out in the front first.
Sure. Okay. With the comprehensive plan, we have to first of all get the master plan adopted. That's just a part of it, but we are already looking at the land uses because we have a land development code rewrite at the same time. So you have to look at all the pieces at once. Right. So we're not doing this like holding up one piece or another. We've got a total rewrite, and we're fitting right into that with the land development code, and that's where Mr. Huffman will be providing us that assistance with both the comprehensive plan, looking at that, and the plan and his recommendations that he'll bring forth, because he needs to become more familiar with the documents, the planning document, and the land development code rewrite that is Module 3 that's going to be coming out hopefully very soon. I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but it's supposed to be coming out pretty darn soon here, so that we can have a review of that document as well. And when we start looking at all of the pieces for land use and what we change that we have right now, and just for everyone, if you're looking at the question of something that's commercial today and tomorrow should be residential, right, and the other way around, you have to change the land use plan, the comprehensive plan, to do that, and you have to put some policies in place. What helps to drive all of those policies is what we're doing right now as a part of this amendment in putting the master plan in there. Let the Community Redevelopment Agency and the City Commission then do their part to take this document and put it in place as an official part of our redevelopment plan, and then we're off to the races, and we can start to do one thing. Here's one thing we can implement right away once we have an adopted plan. Charles and I will not be going out and trying to advertise for something in some place that isn't consistent with the plan. Okay, it'll be something that's consistent. I still can't say automobile use, for example. You can't go here because it says nowhere in the master plan right now, thou shalt not, because it's not the code. We've got to get that code and those use tables in there, what uses are allowed and not allowed, and that'll clarify it for everyone. So, but it will give us some of the tools right away that we can start to use. It also helps us then, in a more official capacity, do exactly what was just brought to you. Is that if there's a lead on a hotel or something, it's there. We've blessed this plan, and so we're pushing it forward. We start implementing that, okay? And if we're not caught up yet with the land development code and the comprehensive plan on that, and we have a project, why are we going to wait? We're going to go forward with that one part, because as you recall, the Midtown master plan is about some of these corridors and specific projects that we want to do in specific areas. Right. So if somebody brings something and says, you know, let's go forward, and we have a cooperative property owner in putting that together, we're going to work at that. We're going to roll up our sleeves and work on those projects.
Read and explain to them, how does the future land use element fit in with the comprehensive plan that ties in with the redevelopment plan? Because when we're doing our research, and I'm piggyback off what Mr. Wilburn is asking us, is that when you sit back and look at the commercial land use on the future land use element, it already says that future automobile dealerships shall be concentrated on Tomoka Farms Road and Knoll Road north of US 92. That's the current policy. So how does that fit in with the comprehensive plan when we're looking at doing, evaluating different developments that's coming into our community?
Let me jump in here if I can a little bit, and Chairman Ivey, I'll address your question too, but just to sort of follow up on what Reed was talking about in answer to Mr. Williams' question, the law is the code. The law right now is what's in the land development code. A plan is essentially, from a legal standpoint, a plan to at some point change that. But what's enforced right now is what's in the code. And remember, property owners have the right to develop their property subject only to what the law prohibits. So if it's not prohibited, they can do it. And we have a constitution, so there's things like due process and property rights that make it important that, you know, we write our laws clearly so that people know what is and isn't prohibited. So the land development code is the law. To use a rough analogy, the comprehensive plan is like the Constitution that the law has to comply with. And so to use, as an example, Mr. Ivey, Chairman Ivey, the language that you were referring to earlier, which I think you were saying is in the future land use element, the future land use element says automobile uses, I think you said, will be concentrated in a certain location. Now, if the comprehensive plan right now said there will be no automobile uses on Nova Road, even if our code permitted that, by the comprehensive plan, the code's no good. The code has to comply with the comprehensive plan or the Constitution. But the language that Chairman Ivey, you were referring to, it's not quite as specific as saying you can't have it here. It says you'll concentrate it there. So it'd be hard to say, it really would be impossible to say that a land development code provision that allows, say, an automobile use at the corner of Nova Road and Dunlawton conflicts with that comprehensive plan. It's not consistent with the policy, perhaps, but it doesn't clearly violate it. And so, and remember, these are laws that restrict people's use of property. So to sort of put things together, the plan is a statement of intent that at some point, if things progress the way this board hopes, it'll result in, there may need to be some changes to the comprehensive plan. There may not need to be changes into the comprehensive plan. And then there will be ordinances enacted. And at that point, language in the plan is now your law. And I think in that process, some of the language gets tightened up a little bit too, because a plan is a plan document. So you'll see shoulds, concentrate, and then when the law comes around, it's you will, you won't, very, very clear. One thing cities do in some instances when they have a plan, you were asking a very specific question before, how would you avoid throwing good money after bad, I think was the term that you used it. There are some situations where cities adopt temporary moratoria on certain kinds of development that are inconsistent with the plan that a city wants to adopt as law. There's issues with that too, because there are property rights that you're interfering with. And so I can tell you, without knowing the details of what's in this particular plan, when a question of a moratorium comes up, the city council would have to, or the city commission in our case, would have to make it of a temporary duration, and it might be a fairly limited moratorium. And depending upon what they were being asked to do, they'd have to look at some of those issues, property rights and constitutional issues at that point. But if the city commission did adopt a moratorium, saying that we're not going to allow toothpaste manufacturers in this area because our plan, would prohibit that, then that moratorium would be applied, for the period that the commission had adopted that temporary moratorium.
I see. So okay.
Yeah. And does that address your question too?
Yeah, I'm gonna come back to mine, but
Actually, he answered all my questions in terms of the moratorium and I too was concerned about. Right now, we saw at the planning meeting where people are aware of what we're trying to do in midterms, so in midterm area. So a lot of people with land sitting can start all of a sudden doing things, and which would defeat our purpose. But as you said, the city, if we see that happening, that you can have, the commission can approve a moratorium if we see too much of that.
The commission can generally do that. There's limitations on that. It would depend on the specific circumstances.
I'm good.
Mr. Toole.
Yeah, just for my own clarification, I think I understand what it says, but in other words, the comprehensive plan is what the land development code must meet.
That's right.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I heard some discussion in the planning board that didn't jive with that. I'm through.
what he's saying, in other words, the comprehensive plan and the land development code is not matching up, which causes conflict when you start to sit back and look at the redevelopment plan, the comprehensive plan, and the land development code plan, and then we try to look at the future land use element, which all of it is supposed to go hand in hand. There's so many conflicting documents out there that when we go to make a decision, we can feel that we're making the right decision, but then here's the back door coming to overrule the decision that was made. And that is part of the issues and the problems that we are dealing with in the Midtown Board as we determine to try to clean up our area. Because one of the things we probably need to do is to make sure this board is able to review the comprehensive plan for the Midtown redevelopment plan. And that way they can make a good vote or a decision on, okay, well, I think we need to make sure, just like we made all these corrections and putting the master plan into play, well, it'll be a lot easier if they could view the comprehensive plan to make sure that some of the items are lining up, for we don't have these different mistakes. I won't say it's a mistake, because according to the current plan that we have, I still stand by Midtown Board being correct, and make that perfectly clear. We were correct in being able to ask for our prohibited use list to move forward. I'm not in agreement with what the planning board and the city commission did, but if we're going to put the tools in place, we need for the tools to move together.
Right.
For we'll know that we're making the right decision. For we can't start a process like Dr. Jameson is saying, and then, that's Midtown. Don't worry, we'll outrule them at the planning board, or we'll make sure we can get outruled. They'll get outruled at the city commission. So we want to close these doors, and that's what they want to make. That's the reason, and I think that's what I'm hearing from this side so forth. Okay, so think about that while we're moving over to this side.
Now, just before you move, Mr. Chairman, is there any way that we as this board can get a copy of the comp plan? I know the land development code is being redone. Where can we get a copy of the comp plan?
Well, there's one place you can get it, and that's the website. It's there. It's right at the top page. And go right to the planning department. And just look under departments and planning, and that's the easiest way to get to it. It's a PDF document. It's a very, very thick document, lots of maps. I think when we start into that, if you want, we can see about getting copies of the actual plan created for you, too.
Yeah, what we can do, Reed, I'll ask that in the next couple of weeks, if you can't get it offline, just ask, come on, let's make a copy and get it to them. I think when you was assigned to the board, you probably should have got the code book. I know when I first came, remember, I received a code book.
Nope.
So if you didn't receive one, let's make sure that all the new members get a copy of the code book so they can review these items.
Well, and if I can, I know that it seems complicated when you're trying to compare a redevelopment plan to a master plan to a comprehensive plan to a land development code. I think for your purposes, when you're doing one of your site plan or conditional use reviews, it's a little bit simpler than that. And I don't think you're going to like the reason why, but when you do one of these kinds of reviews, the land development code is very specific on what the criteria are for you to apply. And it's possible. Let's say if the situation were different and you had your master plan done and the land development code reflected it and hopefully the comprehensive plan reflected it, and let's fast forward 4 years into the future, you have an applicant in front of you who wants to use property and it requires a conditional use. And you've got a nice staff report that lays out the conditions in the land development code for the conditional use. There's an analysis, and the applicant steps up and says, yes, but your comprehensive plan doesn't allow you to apply this particular criterion, for this conditional use. I think your jurisdiction on this board is limited to the criteria that are in the land development code. Now, that's not to say that you should never look at the comprehensive plan. Don't ever look at it. I mean, often the comprehensive plan and the information in the comprehensive plan will be information that you might need to use in applying those criteria. But if, for example, there was a conditional use that, let's say, a toothpaste factory will be permitted on Nova Road if it's at least an acre, and you've got language in the comprehensive plan that says we're not going to allow toothpaste factories in excess of an acre. What should this board do at that point? Well, the first thing that I hope you'll do is ask the board attorney for assistance on that. But I think this board is charged with applying the criteria in the land development code at that point, for better or worse. Hopefully, what would happen in that situation is we would rush around to get rid of that conflict and make sure that everything's okay. But that's why the staff reports have the criteria outlined for you when you're looking at one of those.
Yeah, I'm going to just, if I could, add that in the application, what we're going to try to do and have done with other plans is we do want the boards to become familiar with the comprehensive plan in sending forth a recommendation that goes to the planning board, which makes those decisions. But I think for the purpose of changing what we do in the future, we have, and I think we'll continue to make some recommendations on not with the site plan and I think what you're referring to, but for right now what we're doing with land use and the Clarion rewrite, where we're saying, you know, in the future, ISB, for example, it's almost what? It's zoned for business automotive, BA. Well, BA isn't working. It's not working for the plan. It's what's upsetting a lot of people right now is right now you have every right, and it says, bring it on, bring your related businesses here, and the property owners are clearly understand that that's permitted by right. When it gets changed, and there is a decision on changing that law, and we have the Constitution lined up with it, we're going to make those recommendations forward. Planning board, here it is. Send it on to the commission, and then everything takes effect. I don't see it being a 2-year process, by the way. I really don't. I'm very optimistic that while the future land use plan will take a little time, we're going to just continue to work on that land development code rewrite and try to see that one come forth sooner than 2 years. That's our plan.
Okay. Ms. McMillan, do you have any questions?
Yes, I have some concerns. E, capital project programs and activities on page 19. It was stating that we have 6 capital projects that should all be completed by 2015, and they were partially funded and constructed by the Community Redevelopment Agency. My concern is we know what we want in Midtown, and the one thing we want is for it to look good. But I have a concern with projects that we've had done in our neighborhood that started out looking good, but 6 to 8 months into the project, it looks like they just threw some stuff in there. And I'm talking about the streetscape project on Magnolia Avenue. My main concern, let's not talk about the trees, the sidewalks, the beautiful buffers between the street and the property owners. Did we take care of the problem with the flooding from Adams Street to Nova Road? And I'm going to hammer on this until they get tired, because they took the time, property owners and parts of the city, to make sure where they were affected by that flood that it was done. And it was done expediently, and beautification was added. In Midtown, we beautified some streets, but we didn't take care of the problem. And I stated this when Mrs. Ponder was our chair. We need to take care of the problems first and then beautify. Why would we sidewalk and plant trees that in, I say, 5 to 8 years, they're going to be running into wires? We have trees that you have to pull out almost into the road because you can't see down Magnolia left or right. And then we have trees that are just dead. I'm a citizen. I see it. I know other board members see it. But we have to go back through all this protocol to get it done correctly. But my main issue is if we're going to spend this kind of money on projects, we need to take care of the main problem first and then get into that beautification. And the slightest little rain we have, we still have streets that have water that it takes a couple days for the sun to evaporate it because there's no dredging, there's no gutters, and we're talking between Adams Street by St. Luke Baptist Church all the way to Nova Road by that pawn shop. And it's going up to Orange Avenue. And it gets to the point to where you're driving through muck. My concern is we don't get a lot of money. We partially fund things, we get things funded, but I think we need to be right with doing it the right way, because now when this problem is looked at, they're going to say, oh yeah, we do have problems. Now we have to go dig up all this beautiful work we did. What was the purpose? My other concern is page. You answered it, and it's going to go in a circle. I think since you explained redevelopment and the master plan and the comprehensive plan, it's coming together. That's it. I think Mr. Abbey, his question is probably going to answer it also. Thank you.
Ms. Benjamin.
Reed, I'm directing my question to Reed because this I know about, the RAB, I was there, it's fine. But I have another question. Is it my understanding that you told the city commissioners that this board is holding up on, it's a hold up on the master plan? And could you explain why?
I think you have a memo that's in here that was provided to the commission based on their comments at a meeting, and one of the commissioners was advised that there was some delay in the process, and so they felt there should be an explanation for that.
Who did they?
The commission, and during the board comments or commission comments, it was asked because there was a statement that some members of this board were concerned that it was not moving forward. This redevelopment plan you have in front of you tonight.
I read it.
Okay.
I'm still saying, anytime you call workshops or anything, we try to be there.
Right.
And I just don't understand why you're saying we are the whole.
I did not say that. Where did I say that?
And the other thing, I'm gonna piggyback on Ms. McMillan about those magnolia trees that's on Magnolia. If they would have placed them on the beach side, they wouldn't be dying now. Those things are dying. They don't water those things. And it's, you know, it makes the neighborhood look bad. It was supposed to beautify, but it's not beautifying nothing. And if they clean the drainage over on Lincoln Street and Magnolia, and not say they're doing it, because I know they really don't clean it like they would do on the beach side, it would help a lot because the water's backing up in my yard.
Okay. We'll make a note of that and address those magnolias.
Ken.
Microphone, kid.
Are we on?
Yes.
Yeah.
With respect to the trees, I will double piggyback here. They do. It's an eyesore. Now, do I understand that we're 2 years away from having comprehensive plans, land use plans, master plans that are unified, and that we're going to continue to go through this process of recognizing that today we have to approve things on the basis of the current land development code? Could you?
Sure.
Did I hear you say 2 years?
No, I did not. I said it should take less than 2 years to accomplish these. Now let me go explain.
Is that 23 months?
No, I'm telling you right now, it's not going to take 2 years. It's not going to take 2 years. The process by starting this is it. You know, I could use the word 2 years for the outside and look at and say it may take 2 years, but it better not, because we're trying to move this along as quickly as possible. And if this process that moves in quickly in steps, then number one, this process we're talking about tonight, which is the redevelopment plan, and getting that through that approval process, we should be looking about late September, October to have some official approval in the form of an ordinance. It takes 2 meetings at the commission after the CRA moves it forward. So that's August and September.
What specifically does some official approval mean?
So
Do we have-
the official approval of the commission, the city commission, on if that is approved by the city commission, and they say we've all looked at it, and we're saying that we agree that this master plan and the policies that are in here are fine, then we're going to adopt this. It's adopted. It's adopted. It's official and part of our redevelopment plan, and then we can go on while we're doing this to make sure that the future land use plan and land development code that we're working on now will be coming back to you, and you'll start moving, making decisions on that, and that's going to happen so that by, it's my hope, when we get into the end of this calendar year, Ken, that we are getting to the point of transmitting the recommendations on the future land use plan to the state. And there's a period of time you got to wait, and it comes back. But the other thing I don't know is how quickly that land development code rewrite is going to take. But the intent is to move it along as quickly as possible this summer and through the fall to get to a conclusion. So I'm not talking about 2 years. I'm talking about what we can accomplish by the end of this year.
Which is 5 months away.
5 months, 6 months, sure. 5 months.
It seems to me that I don't understand what you're telling me. 2 years we started with, and then it became we will have something by the end of this year, and then I think I heard you say then they, the mysterious they, will come back to us. And it seems to me that they're going to come back and say, yep, you guys can do this. But it's an unknown time when they come back to us.
He wants to know who is they.
Who is they?
Say it.
That's my question to you. I asked you that earlier.
I don't. Look, we have a process where we make recommendations to the planning board commission, and in this case the CRA is involved in approving the plan that's before you this evening, and we have to take all of those steps. And my estimate right now is that we could be done with this as early as the beginning of October. And in the meantime, we'll work towards getting the comprehensive plan and the
if that were to
land
happen,
development code done.
What do we have at the beginning of October? Somebody comes to us and they want to do a project.
You still do not have what Ben said.
We play in by.
Yeah. The rules, which are the laws, let's talk about the law. The law cannot change until it's put in place as a land development code, and that's the law. And that isn't
like
going to...
That's the 2-year deal.
No. No, it's not. I don't expect it to take 2 years because we're on working on a process now with Clarion that is intended to come out and be completed, I hope, before the end of the year. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I can't promise that. But that's the intent. That would be the land development code and the changes. The land use part of it, that is something that you can use particularly for zoning, for some of these, some of the things that you may want to do to implement the land development code and make changes. That's going to take more time.
Reed, I think you're probably hearing the frustrations of the board and on more than just the redevelopment plan that we're trying to move forward. as I sit here and listen to the board, and I know we had this discussion in our workshop, but it seems that ordinances are being passed in other communities without the time frame that it takes for Midtown to get things done. I think we get to the point now, and I've been on this board serving now for 2.5, almost 3 years. I'm not used to seeing Ken get upset over it. So that tells me that the process is really it is really starting to be and continue to be bogged down. I think some of the things that we really probably need to do is really go ahead and adopt our redevelopment plan, adopt the master plan, and send everything forth with revisions so we can start getting things in the law. Because when they pass ordinances for the beach side, and I hate to constantly compare the beach side of downtown with Midtown, but it's just reality. If you can pass an ordinance to put some bicycles through the city in 1 or 2 meetings, surely we can get ordinances passed where we can clean up our community. And that is the sentiment that I feel that I'm hearing from this board. We don't have a problem passing the redevelopment plan, but if it has no teeth, then why bite? And that's where the whole that's the process for Midtown seems to constantly be different for the remaining parts of the city, and that's the frustration that this board bears. That's the frustrations while our community constantly looks the way it looks. We're trying to move things forward, but I'm like Ken. If we done took the 2 months to review the redevelopment plan, I feel it needs some revision because I would love to see it moved along with everything else. I'm for passing it now, knowing that we can make revisions, but at the same time, I want to make sure we go ahead and pass the master plan and adopt it and move it forth with revisions also. And that's before we can start getting some teeth and move our community together. Because I don't think we should be waiting on Clarion to do anything. Clarion should be waiting on us. And what'll happen is they'll come back and gonna ask us to pass the Clarion, and then we sit back and say no. Now the whole city is on hold. Everybody's gonna be upset. So I'm just asking that we sit back tonight. Let's move this forward, and let's go ahead and ask the CRA, whether we do it in a resolution or whatever, to adopt our master plan, so we can move it forward. I don't know if that's the right procedure, but I'm gonna ask that we do it and do things outside the box so we can move things forward. And another thing that will help us too is that we do another workshop. I'm talking immediately. Get Professor Huffman down here. Let's do a workshop and get everything coordinated so we'll know how to move it forward. That's another alternative at this point in time I think we need to do. With that in mind, what do you think, Ken? I mean, because
while you were talking, I was able to think about this a little bit. Here, this is a sketch prepared for a potential hotel site at the intersection of Nova and ISB. And here there's 2 letters of interest that are in these packages up here. And we go hang this out in front of somebody, and this is smoke.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because what you are showing me, if there is somebody there that wants to develop something, we act on that. We're going to work with whomever that has a plan and property and wants to develop it, and assist them in whatever that way that they have an interest. That's our job. This just came to us. I'm seeing it for the first time, right now, tonight. So if it comes to our attention, then certainly we would do what we can to work with them.
Did I understand you, that you said they, at that point, own the property?
They don't have to own the property. If there's a willing seller for a piece of property, or we can find a willing seller, we would do that.
Bear in mind that the Land Development Code permits planned development agreements, even where...
I'm fine with that.
I just want to make sure all the board members were aware of that. I'm sure you're aware of it, Mr. McGee. If the owner or
No, I
or
understand.
somebody,
I understand it also. I understand a lot of when you have to keep things at a level. But the idea of these sketches tonight is to show that it can happen in our community, and it's happening from the master plan. That's the idea. That's the reason why you had these tonight, because I had to get permission for it to be shown before it can come out. So that's why you have it in your packet tonight. But once again, and then I'm going to go ahead and move this forward to a vote, but I'm going to address Dr. Jameson first, then Mr. Tooley, and then I'll come back to you, Ms. McMillan. And then after that, I want to go ahead and move this forward.
My comment is, we are not concerned about a positive thing coming in the community like that hotel. Our concern is the negative things that we don't want right now. If that comes before you, we have no mechanism to prevent it. That's the problem we have, not the good stuff. We're trying to prevent the bad stuff, and right now we can't.
Ms. Tooley?
Okay. If you could explain this to me like I was an 8th grader. The planning board, once we say that we accept this and move it forward, does it go to the planning board or to the CRA?
Goes to the planning board, the CRA, and the city commission.
Okay. So, what would hold up the process if we decide to move this forward?
The only thing I can think of would be if someone wants to look at it for an additional meeting, it could hold it up, it could delay it. The CRA has made it very clear they want to see this come back to them, and so they're very excited, and they intend to move forward with.
I know they want to see the master plan come back.
Well, I'm going to, and y'all have to forgive me, I'm not good at being politically correct, but there has been something between getting it from us to the CRA that is constantly holding up a process.
That we have the plan. The plan is a part of and going to be an appendix that's included here with the redevelopment plan. It's not being held up. It's if you decide to move it forward, it's going to go through that process, get back to the CRA, so that they can move it forward for adoption. But it has to be the commission that makes the final decision.
Right.
Right.
But again, it's going to come back down to why can't we move the master plan through to the city commission, CRA, or whomever at this present time for adoption with revisions forthcoming? Because we know it's going to be revised, but we at least want to get the plan adopted, because this city commission, from my understanding and the feeling that I'm getting, is that they want this plan adopted. Because that's been, quote, the words that kills us at the end, where it's not an adopted plan. So let's stop killing the dog, and let's go ahead and send it forward and let somebody else, because I don't want it to say that the Midtown board is holding up anything. I'd rather for our documents at this present time, the master plan, the redevelopment plan, move forward together through the process, knowing that revisions are going to come. That's what we would like to see happen. And if that's that's the motion at this present time, if we can make a motion to approve this Midtown redevelopment area plan along with the master plan to be moved forward to the
I so move.
with the next
I second.
but wait. That's what I want to make sure that we can do that. And that's how I would like to move it forward at this present time, for that way we're not holding anything up. The master plan, the redevelopment plan, to move forward simultaneously with revisions coming forward. Does it go to the city commission?
Yeah, the city commission has to approve it anyway.
Or does it go to the planning board first?
Planning board.
Goes to the planning board, the CRA, and the city commission.
Okay, but what we would like to do is make sure that it's being moved forward, knowing that revisions are coming. That's what we would like to do. That's what we would like to have happen. Then, as we do our workshops, we can be sending revisions right behind it.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chair, it sounds to me like the motion stated most concisely is to recommend approval of the master plan and the redevelopment plan with the revisions shown, period.
Okay.
Because this board always has the ability to review the master plan and the redevelopment plan. And
So here's what I'd like to have done, because I can't make the motion. Will someone make the motion?
We've already
in the
done that,
positive?
Mr. Chairman.
But you got a
Based
motion on
on-
the
Got a
floor,
motion on
and
the
I
floor.
think for purposes of the record, if the person who made the motion, the person who seconded the motion, just confirm verbally that that's how they understand the motion to read, then I think.
Yeah, we are moving that the master plan and the redevelopment plan be moved forward and presented to the planning board with any necessary revisions.
You're moving, your motion is to recommend.
Right, recommend that, yeah.
And is that the second?
Yes.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Next item.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just want to make a statement. Yes, we just passed that, and I'm glad we did, because I'm frustrated also. It seems as though we do have directors on this board. Mr. Bryan is there, Mr. Reed, and everybody is trying to work to help us. But somewhere down the line, someone is not following our plans and to keep us in line. What I mean about that is, just like the other night, if we did not suppose to have gone to the planning board at the time, it should have been stated to us if we did not have everything in order. Only thing I'm saying is, Reed, if you see whereby we are lacking information or need to do something different, speak to us, let us know, show us the paperwork, and I think we will be able to understand.
And I apologize for not asking if there's any questions on that vote. But
Mr.
that's-
Chair, I just had a statement, and it's going to coincide with Mrs. Hurd. I believe when I came, I sat where Ms. Simonetti is sitting, and then I sat where Mr. Tooley's sitting. And I got very frustrated because we come in here, we have workshops, we're on one accord with what we want. We go back, they bring people in to tell us where we're lacking and wrong. I personally asked Mr. Reed to fight for us. And when he goes to these meetings to represent Midtown, let them know our passion and come back to us and tell us this is what needs to be done. When we attended that planning board meeting about that prohibited uses,
Here, and
Ms. Washington explained, and she made it clear that we were tired of running back and forth for approvals. Ms. Benjamin wasn't there, but she let us know her support. Personally, I feel that when we have done what we need to do and it goes beyond us, that they're not taking us serious. That's just my personal opinion, because why is it you can get some things done on Beachside where 80% of the people who own the properties don't even live here? But these are people that live here If not, industry wants to come in, but every little thing that we do, we get kicked back. And I know between Mr. Bryan and Reed, they need to, I shouldn't say hold our hand, but explain to us where we're lacking so that when it goes, because I applaud Ms. Hurd and Mr. Ivy for the meetings they attend, and they come, we get an understanding, we get on one accord, and then you come back and it's back to square one. This has got to stop. We will never get what we want in Midtown if they keep pulling us back and forth. It's like Jesus, from hall to hall. They know what they want to do. They really don't know what they want to do at Midtown, do they?
Okay,
Yes.
but hold up, before we get out of order.
We know.
No, hold up one second.
We gotta do this.
Before we, what I'm gonna ask the board, that let's get through the meeting, and when we get to the board, comments,
Thank
that
you.
we sit back and, voice that. We need to,
But that goes,
get through
I
it.
was trying to make that statement
I
before we made
understand
the
that.
motion, because once again, you know, we're thinking things are done right, and they keep stalling.
right, I understand. Can we wait till the end? Okay, I'll yield a minute to you.
Yes.
I was at the meeting, Ms. McMillan, Cato, and I think Charles did a very good job presenting the prohibited stuff. But it wasn't Midtown board members that was hung up. It was the planning board that was hung up. And until the planning board stopped trying to dictate to Midtown, you're not going to get anywhere. You see how the voices split? And I haven't seen a split like that since I've been sitting on the planning board. They were split. Charles did a beautiful job. He said everything we wanted.
That's right.
And that's the way the ball rolled.
Okay, thank you.
As,
I'm asked. Hold our comments. Let's get through the meeting. Next item is item number 8. It's the BOA 07-12-03. It's the Middle Lehman. It's a request by Joe Hopkins, PE, 100 Marine Point Drive, Daytona Beach, Florida, on behalf of Miller Lehman, Inc., for a variance to the 6-foot height limitation for fencing to replace the chain link fencing with a 6-foot masonry wall and stucco finish and color to match the existing building. The site is located at 800 Orange Avenue. All Mr. Hopkins is asking is for a variance. If you've seen the fence on the front part of the Orange Avenue, all they're doing is asking to redo the Lockhart Street and the backside. If you had any questions at all, Mr. Hopkins is here. If not, this is just a variance request. It really doesn't require any too much discussion. If not, can we have a motion, please, unless you have a question?
I have questions.
Okay.
Is the property owner or the representative here?
Yeah, we have Mr. I said we have Mr. Hopkins here if we have questions. Mr. Hopkins, you can come forward. Please state
For the
your
record,
name.
my name is Joe Hopkins. I'm a representative for Miller Lehman. My address is 100 Marina Point Drive here in Daytona Beach.
What is the nature of that business?
They manufacture filtration devices that are used in the agricultural industry, the industrial industry, and they also have applications that they manufacture for the Coast Guard under high technical specifications. But it's primarily filtration systems, water purification, and other applications of that nature.
How many people do you employ?
I'm not an employee of Miller Lehman. I represent the property owner.
understand.
I think there's probably about 25 employees there, is my guess. But I can get a confirmation for you.
And the only reason why I'm asking that question is because you see cars parked, you don't see anything. I mean, people pass every day and don't know what people do in that building. I'm just being honest. I lived on the street and relocated. Still didn't know what it was. Saw it beautified, big flag and everything, but not getting on you. I wanted to know.
Well, I tell you,
Thank you.
Board Member McGee also shared the same questions before the meeting, and if anybody would like to take a tour of the facility, I can definitely arrange that for you.
Thank you so much.
Ken?
You might.
Joe, I don't understand what you're asking for. I beg your pardon, but
Let me just give you a quick explanation. In your packet, there's a photograph of the existing facility.
I've got this whole thing.
Correct. There's a 6-foot chain link fence with an additional foot of barbed wire on it. And what we want to do is build a 6-foot masonry wall with intermittent columns about every 14 feet. And on top of the 6-foot wall, we want to put the fenestration, the metal decoration that you see on Orange Avenue, on the wall we did probably about 8 years ago when we added that parking lot to the west side of the Miller Lehman facility. So it's in concert with what we're doing, and it's opaque screening as opposed to the chain link.
I have a question. Could I come help me out? Sure. Where is that wall located?
You're located along Lockhart. All the way along Lockhart. Currently, we have a fence here and screen walls on this side.
Is that fence remain?
Sorry, gentlemen, can you, excuse me, just for the record, can you both speak into the microphone while you're speaking up there? Thank you.
We added a parking lot to the west side of the Miller Lehman facility, and as part of that addition, we constructed a column fence that's made out of metal ironwork.
Yeah.
It's existing. Correct. It's existing.
Open.
That's correct. It's existing and it'll stay in place.
It's 6 feet high,
That's correct.
and you're not doing anything to that?
No, sir. We're only affecting the fence that exists on Lockhart Street.
That's it?
That's it. The reason that we're here before you is because the Land Development Code allows for a maximum height of 6 feet. We enjoyed the security of the 7-foot fence. We're going to clean it up, get the barbed wire out of there, get the chain link out of there, and put that metal fenestration that you see on Orange Avenue. I think it's a vast improvement from what you see right now. This particular company deals in expensive metals, and security is paramount for them. They've been a great corporate citizen for over 10 years. They really keep a very clean act going over there, and I would like a recommendation from this board to go forward to the Board of Adjustment in support of this request.
So you do have a functional purpose for this. Basically, the reason that you're doing it, that was my question. Was it just aesthetics, or was it a functional purpose for it?
It has a function, and it has a design aspect as well that we want to carry around the perimeter of the property.
Okay, you really want to secure the facility more.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Are there any more questions?
Is this a solid masonry wall?
Yes, ma'am, it will. It'll be a solid wall and intermittent columns. The columns are about 18 inches, I believe, every 14 feet. So they'll be decorative. It won't be just a solid 20-inch. Sorry. It won't be a solid wall. There'll be breaks in it, and the columns will actually extend in front of the wall. We set the wall back a few inches off the right-of-way line so we can protrude those columns out and get the effect, get a better effect than just a stagnant wall.
Did I hear you say it's solid and it would be something on top of the wall?
Correct. There's an exhibit in your package. It's the second sheet in your exhibit. In the upper left-hand corner, it says masonry wall, stainless steel top screen. That's what the wall will look like, except the block is going to be stucco. You will not see all those lines on the block work.
But this is in compliance with the height when you put this, all of that?
The masonry wall itself is, but the additional fenestration, that metal work on the top is not.
It's going to push it up how high?
A little bit higher, about 14 inches higher.
6 feet.
16.
Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to make a motion.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I make a motion that we approve BOA-0712-03 Miller Lehman.
And I second the motion.
Thank you.
You heard the motion, it's been second. Are there any questions?
None.
All in favor? Aye. I thank you, motion passes. In reference to item 9, Joe, Mr. Hopkins, we're gonna ask that, I need a motion for that to be continued because it still has to go before the, TRT, so we can get, the comments before we, discuss it.
Mr. Chairman?
If not, but before we do that, are there any questions so far? Because I'd rather for us to see the comments that comes back from staff before we,
Right.
make a motion on it. So, I just want to continue it this one time to give TRT time and, staff time to put their comments in. And if so, at that point when it comes back, because we done had time to, actually look over it, and we'll ask for, put it on as an action item when it comes back. So, are there any,
I have a question.
yes?
This is a vacant lot, right?
No, ma'am. It has a building and some surface improvements. It was originally used, or last used by the car rental, National Car Rental, I believe.
Avis.
Okay, this is owned by the firework place?
Yes.
There's a vacant lot between the fireworks and this lot here. Mr. Chairman, if I could just address the board for a second with regard to this. You will see this again. I accept the chairman's recommendation to continue this, particularly in light of everything that I heard earlier regarding your master plan. But in the meantime, if you would take a look at the property, this is in compliance. The site plan that we're processing through the city is in compliance with the landscape code and other visual codes that currently exist. Again, this is a property that's surrounded by chain link fence along both right-of-ways with a 6-foot, with an additional 1 foot of barbed wire fence. The plan that we processed with the city, we just received those comments, improves the property to the current landscape code, removes all the chain link fence and ornamental fencing, black anodized fencing or some type of a decorative fencing will go in place of that. In addition, there's a sign, a pole sign that's much higher than the building. We are proposing to bring that down to the level of the building, so it will not exceed the height of the building. Again, something that's encouraged with the land development code. So those are the improvements that we're proposing, besides a little bit of a facelift, some painting and things of that sort. But when you drive by, take a look at it, and I'll address you next month with regard to the site plan request.
Where do you want to put up this? How high is the fence that you want to put on ISB?
I believe it's 4 feet along the right-of-way.
Is that the front part?
Or is it 6? I'm getting my fences confused. It's 6. Foot. There's a detail on page 3. I mean page 4 in the upper left-hand corner. This would replace the barbed wire fence and the chain link fence that's 7 feet tall right now. That is not in compliance with the code.
The code says 4 feet.
That's why he needs a variance.
We'll work with the TRT to make sure that we comply with all the details. As I said, those comments were just released Monday. I reviewed them very briefly this afternoon, and I can assure you that this will not come back without any deviations from the code.
I'm reading from this narrative right here. It says, and this deals with the property which was just discussed.
Use your microphone, Ken.
Thank you. Fences and walls shall not exceed 4 feet in height along the front of it. And I don't see how we can allow 6 feet, considering that, especially considering this is ISB and we'd be setting a precedent for the entire street front from Nova to the railroad tracks. That's my concern.
I appreciate that,
So you might wanna
and we'll
talk to
take
your
that back
owners
to the
about
drawing board. I'm a little bit off guard. I agree with you on the fence, but we'll deal with the staff comments and get the site plan in order and get a staff recommendation for approval before it gets back to you guys.
It's nice to see you.
It's good to see you too. It's good to see this board. Pleasure to see you guys.
Joe, before you go, may I have a motion to continue, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we table this particular item for 30 days.
I second.
Should be our next meeting. It should be next meeting. Instead of 30 days. Yeah.
Okay, we'll table it until the next meeting. It may be 31 days.
You heard the question. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, John.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No.
On item number 10, this is a discussion item. It's about the expansion of the Bike Week Master Plan, dealing with Bike Week and Biketoberfest in the Midtown redevelopment area. I don't know if you had seen the City Commission meeting about 2 months ago when Commissioner Reynolds brought it up for discussion. The expansion of the Bike Week Master Plan would allow itinerary vending on ISB. I want you to think about, we had the largest motorcycle repair shop in the city of Daytona Beach sitting in the middle of Midtown. We have other motorcycle shops around that area between Martin Luther King and Key Street. And what we're trying to do, and I had a chance to talk to Commissioner Reynolds about this, is find a way where we can implement it into the master plan with the support of the Midtown Board, because they pay taxes just like anybody else. And they're not allowed on the current code to have vending on the on that part of the corridor. It'll take one line, from my understanding of this, on the code to change in the ordinance. One line. So what I'm asking, if any concerns, any questions, but I wanted to open that up for discussion from the board, so we can send a recommendation back to the City Commission on this issue. And I'll start with Ken, because he's trying to leave.
My concern is that the use is not compatible with the character and characteristics that we worked for more than a year on to bring onto that street.
What Ken is saying, the compatible uses that's currently, what we're trying to pass now is a change on the master plan. But if one of the things, and this one of those catch-22 situation, and I'm just only stating my opinion based on what you just said. I'll wait and let somebody else come in. I had it wrote down. I'm going to start with Ms. Hurd.
No, I'm waiting to hear what Ken said, and you didn't finish telling me.
Yeah, I did.
Could we kind of step back a minute?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
What are we asking for? What are we
No,
recommending?
this is only a discussion item.
Yeah, I know, I'm saying, but it says generally expansion of the Bike Week Master Plan dealing with Bike Week. I don't know what that means. Are you asking for us, what are you asking to be done differently? That we temporarily do something different during Bike Week, or this is a permanent thing?
No, what we were looking at, and one of the things I've been talking with the commission on is making it a permanent where they can do itinerary vending like they have on Martin Luther King and on Mary McLeod Bethune, to allow those businesses to do the same. And
During Bike Week
right,
only.
during Bike Week and Biketoberfest.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So, in other words, the same way they set up vending on
Mary McLeod Bethune.
yeah, because I'm about to call it Second Avenue.
That's all right.
Mary McLeod Bethune, that during Bike Week, the businesses on Martin Luther King can do the same thing
It would be on,
in a certain area.
no, on international, but it'll only be certain businesses.
Okay.
You're not talking about every business. We're basically we're talking about the motorcycle businesses that we currently have on, and the restaurants that's in that area. So if their lots can, from my understanding, if the lot can hold the parking and hold the vending, then they'll be allowed to do it also.
Okay, all right.
That's my
But
understanding.
how would you stop other businesses?
Wait just a minute. Let me recognize back to Ms. Hurd.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jameson, for the explanation. Question, you did mention about the motorcycle businesses there.
Yes.
And both of those businesses have side streets there. Instead of setting up on International, they have space on the sides that they can use
On their properties.
on their properties.
Right, it would have to be on their property.
Right. I don't have to think about this too much, because if they're going to set up, and I know they're going to set it up correctly, right, and all of that, if the service station can set up and they set up without permits on weekends and everything, and it looks like it does, I don't see nothing wrong with the people making additional monies.
For discussion. Mr. Wilburn.
I have a couple of concerns, and I'm just visualizing this taking place, and because I'm visualizing the way it functions in other parts of the city, even our neighboring cities down by the Last Resort down, and then on Main Street and other places. And my question is my concern is the traffic. How is it going to affect the traffic flow? And I'm not at this point. I don't know enough about it to be for it or against it. But I see some real concerns with trying to figure out what we're going to do in an area that's already going to be congested with traffic. How's it going to work out? The other thing that I'm really concerned about is have we included the neighbors and how they might feel about having this traffic flow, because folks are going to be backing out of their driveways, and that's and here's one of the first people that came to mind. We've got people's homes that are there, and how we're going to work that out logistically so that people aren't inconvenienced any more than they already are during a very busy time. So those are my concerns.
Point well taken. Ms. Simonette?
My concern was how are you going to stop other businesses? You're going to just say only motorbike companies could do it, and the other companies wanting to do it. How do you go about deciding who's going to, if I apply, how are you going to tell me no?
What happens is you would, from my understanding, is you would take the businesses that's currently operating now between Martin Luther King and Key Street, and they would be allowed to participate in the different events. So you really only have a few motorcycle shops, a couple of restaurants that this will affect. Now, if I would say if the print shop I think this is right on the corner of Adams. You know, if they put in and decide to participate in the master plan and they got approved through the process, then they'll be eligible to be in it. But those are really your only businesses that you would really be dealing with. And it's just my opinion. I make this perfect because it's just my opinion. When you sit back looking at the traffic, well, the traffic is backed up anyway, and that's why it's a discussion. So, you know, we're looking at how the traffic, well, that's the purpose of trying to revitalize, let people know that our area is safe enough for you to stop and have a good time. So if you can go spend money anywhere else, hey, stop in our area. That's the intent, to try to spread the wealth throughout the community instead of, and make it more like a party atmosphere or entertainment situation where everybody can get part of the revenue. And that's the understanding that I've been looking at.
And I, you know, I agree that you know, the major corridor runs right through Midtown, and Midtown should benefit just as all the other communities. But the flip side to that is that everything is cool until you back out of your driveway, and you've got most, and people don't always stay in pocket, you know. And so when you have to back out of your driveway, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not for it or against it one way or the other. It's just concerns that I see. These are people's. This is a residential area right behind those businesses, and these are areas that are already congested.
The public will speak on it, and if it moves forward, you know, anything that's going to probably happen in Midtown, if it gets the blessing of the board or don't get the blessing of the board, either way, you know, at least people know that we discussed it and there are other opinions out there, and that's why we're having this discussion on it. But just a minute, Ms. Simonette, did you have a question?
No, I'm okay.
Mr. Tooley.
Well, one of the things that I think we also need to realize is that in Midtown itself, we have one of the only Harley-Davidson museums in this entire area. This man still gets visits from part of the Harley family who started the Harley-Davidson. He's not able to capitalize on Bike Week, Biketoberfest, or any of that because we're saying he can't have any vending there. We constantly are talking about trying to get a tax base in Midtown. What better way to get a tax base than to let people start making money? I mean, come on now, if we want our cities to grow, we need to stop making it so hard for people to make money in our city. That's why they're going to Holly Hill, that's why they're going to South Daytona, that's why they're going to Port Orange and Ormond. We've got to stop letting people take their money outside of our city. More money is made in South Daytona off of Bike Week than is made in Midtown. And it didn't used to happen. Yes, it is. I've got the proof. Secondly, all those businesses up on 2nd Avenue, they have people in their backyards too. And they don't have any problem because some of them go out there and sell dinners while they're there. And we can do the same thing throughout the Midtown community. We need to stop trying to figure out how to stop business from happening and figure out how to let business happen.
Bring them down Martin Luther King.
That's fine too.
Bring them down there.
And one other thing too, Mr. Chairman.
Hold on one second. Ken, what do you have?
I'll just roll up my pants legs and wade right on in. We've spent a long time, and one of the things that we had a discussion about dealt with the intersection of ISB and I need to wherever. I'm sorry, I have memory problems. Wherever that Checkers, that's what I'm trying to say. There's Checkers, there's Buck's Gun Store, there's the mortgage, the mortgage
Insurance company.
and the gasoline station there. And we discussed a hotel. We discussed a movie. We discussed other major services that would come to this area. And the things that we also discussed was converting this whole area into a retail and mixed use. And if I'm not mistaken, the largest motorcycle dealer there on ISB, that's a 1-year lease.
From my understanding too, I have to agree with you. I did find out he has a 2-year lease with the option to buy. One of the things that may hurt him is because he can't participate in the Bike Week and Biketoberfest. It's a chance that he won't renew his lease.
Now, all I'm saying is that here are the principles, and here's the direction that we worked a long time to establish, and we just can't throw it away. It's not our problem that they don't fit. It's their problem.
Okay,
And
so we're
they
going to
have
tell
to
them to
come
get up
to
and
us.
leave.
And why is it that we would back off from our intended uses and our intended character?
Like I say, right now, we just having a discussion.
So now, are we going to tell these businesses they need to leave Midtown?
Okay, I'm wading back out now. Somebody else go get in there.
But hold on just a minute, because I want to make sure we stay in order. Ms. Hurd and then Ms. McMillan.
Mr. Ivy and Board, if we agree that these people can set up, believe me, they have guidelines. The city will give them guidelines to go by. The Chamber of Commerce and everyone else will make sure they go by the guidelines. What's wrong with them setting up? Like I say, the motorcycle shop has, you don't know what they want to set up. They just want to set up tents or 8 tents, and they have plenty of space for people to park. They have it more than on 2nd Avenue. I agree. I go along with letting them set up. And I'm going to say it again and again. Code enforcement don't bother the service station down there. And I know when those people go and set up, they don't have permits. And it's not the service station. It's people from the community go there and set up. So what's wrong with these people, $1 million business down there, setting up? That's even with the crab shack down there. You all like crabs. I can't eat them. You know, if they want to sit outside and eat crabs, let them sit out, eat, buy, and spend the money. Get it while the getting is good. That's all I have to say.
Ms. McMillan.
Considering that that is the gateway to Midtown, I've never in the history, and I lived on that street right by, across from Pierre, never has there been any vending, but Krispy Kreme lets race car drivers park a car and give away free donuts, and people go in and buy a dozen. And we're trying to make this seem like this is going to be a all year long thing. There are people that come from across the nation and fight and bargain, Ms. Hurd, to get the property facing 2nd Avenue because the people walk the sidewalk. The money that we let go up International to Beachside, to Miller's in South Daytona, to where you have to come to a creeping crawl to get through South Daytona. God forbid the Beachside. Bike Week.
Iron Horse.
Okay, so if my only concern is what happens to a property owner who has a piece of property that's been vacant, and they see everybody from MLK to Keach Street putting up tents, they're going to want to get somebody to sign the vend on their property. What happens when other businesses, and I'm in agreement with Ms. Simonette, we have too many businesses that may have the parking and the space to vend? Do we limit it to the bike shops, or do we open it up from Nova Road? And this is a discussion. Do we open it up from Nova Road to the railroad track? Because there's the big Sky King firework with parking. You have too many businesses that are dormant that could probably turn some money, and we know the bulk of the people don't get here until Wednesday, from Wednesday to Sunday, and spend. So why not let this be something, and hopefully, Mr. Bryant, we can have our banners that say Midtown when they come up international on the poles, and they see these businesses with vendors, giving them an opportunity that, hey, later on I might go back to Kentucky and say that's a popping street. I may want to invest in a piece of property since we keep hollering businesses and tax base.
I have one question.
Yes.
Wouldn't it draw the business from 2nd Avenue?
No.
One of the things, because one of the things I made sure is that I went out and talked with some of the community stakeholders also that deals with Bike Week. And that was one of the concerns that she shared with me, is that, hey, how do we spread it out and make it more of a festival than, because people are like, well, that's going to take away, it won't take away. If you can spread it out and make the event bigger, it will only bring revenue into the community. And I think if it was marketed the correct way, and it's not hard to do the logistics on it because it's already been done. Okay, the laws are basically already on the book. Code basically knows what to do. That's not an issue that we really had to fight. When it comes to the neighbors, if the neighbors want to come out and put no parking signs, there are different restrictions that we can put on them, especially when it comes to the music and different things like that. Now, I know on Martin Luther King at night, the neighbors welcome it, okay? Because we even get, in the area that we're in,
$10 a park.
People have a tendency in that neighborhood to really welcome it because they can let people park in their yards. You even have certain people that comes out to do security and different things like that. So it's economics, whether you make $10, $100, or $1,000. It gives something to the community. But even when it comes down to the loud noises, it's an ordinance in place where you can have a cutoff time, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. Or you can say, well, you know what? We don't want any bands in this particular area. So it's things that you still can do, but the idea is to let people make money. And that's just my take on it. How do we open it up to let people make money? That's why I had the opportunity to talk with the commissioner, that we need to get a sense and a feel of what the board feels and what the community feels, because everybody here talks to different constituencies, and it's important that we know how the community feels as a whole.
I had one other question. When you said that there was a line, were you meaning where they could start, what space would be used, or is there a line through the land development code? Not trying to be funny, but you said there's a line. What type of line were you saying, meaning from MLK to Keach? Is there going to be a border as to how far it goes?
Oh, well, no, what happens is, currently right now in the master plan ordinance, and I don't have it with me, and I apologize for this, the ordinance was passed by Charles Cherry that allowed Mary McLeod Bethune between the railroad tracks and Martin Luther King, and then he included Martin Luther King going down to Shady Place. I think that's the zone. So what the discussion that I've been having is, let's open it up even more now on ISB in order that we can stimulate economic growth during those periods and hopefully make our festival, our area, a larger festival area. That's some of the gist of it. We can bring back the people that's more technically proficient at the next meeting that will answer questions. I just want to open it up for discussion for a few minutes, see what they feel, and now that we sort of have it, what I would recommend and ask that we bring the people back on the legal side of this that knows it, that can explain to the community and to the board better on the intent of the ordinance. With that in mind, I would like to close the discussion at this time so we can move on to the next order. Because that was just a discussion item. In light of time, I believe everybody had a chance to look at their board priorities on number 11. If you have any questions about it, please get with Mr. Bryant on it, and even on the redevelopment project updates. What I would like for you to do also is to personally either call Mr. Bryant and or send him an email if you have any questions dealing on the redevelopment project updates. At this time, we're going to open it up for public comments. When you come forward, please state your name, and we'll allow a couple of minutes for your comments.
Reverend Victor Gooden, 809 Pelican Bay Drive, Daytona Beach, Florida. I want to make a comment, and I'll be brief about the last item you discussed. And if the City Commission, and it's been in discussion, approves this item, what you all do not want will not matter anyway, because they will overrule you and keep right on moving. So, as a concerned citizen, I want to know what your take is. Did you take any action on it? Did you try to do anything with it? So you need to think about that. And I agree with Ms. Hurd and Ms. McMillan. There are rules in place to keep this from being a fiasco. We have major celebrations in New Orleans, Miami, and it's not like this is going to be a 52-week thing. It's only at certain periods of times. And trust me, the way the chamber is marketing Daytona Beach, the chamber will scream bloody murder if it looks like a zoo or a junkyard dog area. So trust the system, work with it, and let a brother or sister make a little money on the side, because it will help them to pay taxes. If these businesses are dormant, they're going to shut down. And then there's no tax at all. You got vacant buildings, vacant land. We're always screaming about the tax base. And you don't want any more churches. So cut the businesses a break, and we'll be praying from the church along the way. The board members, I'd like to commend you for your effort. Whether I agree or disagree with the actions that you take, you put forth a volunteer effort. You're not paid to do it, and we appreciate what you do, the hours that you spend to do this. We're certainly grateful. And I want you to do one thing for me, just one moment, board members. Would you just cover your eyes for about 2 seconds? Just do that. Okay, take them down. Whatever I did standing here, those 2 seconds, you didn't know, because your eyes were covered. And I feel like that sometimes you're dealing with stuff with covered eyes. Let me say what? Any carpenter needs a hammer. Any automobile mechanic needs at least one wrench. Any preacher needs a Bible. This board needs to be equipped with tools for the task and shouldn't have to go to a website and personally download any document 6 inches thick. No soldier goes to war and provides his or her own weapons. The military provides the tools necessary so the soldiers can do what they were assigned to do. Any tools afforded to other boards needs to be equitable in the distribution to this board as well. The comprehensive plan, whether relevant in totality, that's not the issue. The issue is it needs to be provided for information so that things in that can be gleaned to help you do what you do. If nothing but comparison, it needs to be there. There needs to be unification of information so that you're not dealing on one thing one day, another thing the next day. And I would hate to think that there's a little conspiracy going on here to keep you all from having the correct information. So I appeal to the city, get the information that they need. It's coming out of my pocket anyway. It's not y'all's pockets. So if you need the comprehensive plan, it should be provided. The last thing I'll say is this. Nobody who works for a company should have to buy their own paper. Thank you.
All right, I got it. I'm a little slow these days. Johnny Ponder, 885 Millie, Daytona Beach. And I agree with some of the things Pastor said, but I do not agree with extended bike week to that ISB, because when you do that, you're setting a precedent and you're not following what we're trying damn hard to do, which is pass the master plan. The master plan does not call for that. I agree with what Ken was saying. And I want y'all to think about that. Really, really, really think about it. Because when you set a precedent, it's hard to walk it back. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? So if you let them come out and do that, yeah, I want a brother to make $1 out. I want people to make money in Midtown. I agree with that. But let's do it the right way. When you set a precedent and you do it wrong, it's going to be wrong. All the way around, it's going to be wrong. You know, I'm for right. I don't know everything, but I try to work with you. But if I feel you're wrong, I love y'all, but I'm going to say that I feel you're wrong, and I'm going to stand up against it. There are things in this town who is not going to let that happen, okay? They're not going to let that particular ISB, not Midtown, the ISB thing happen. And you know, when you start something, everybody is going to do stuff that's going to cause an accident. Mr. Wilbur Williams said the same thing about the traffic. Where are people going to park? It's going to be in his neighborhood, in his backyard. He's going to be mad. Code enforcement don't have the people to sit and do what they need to do to deal with that. We all know what the city is. You may think the city and the chamber going to do all this right stuff, but we know better. We know better that they're not going to do the right thing. Y'all know that. Y'all been dealing with this for a while. They ain't going to do the right thing. And who is it going to be landing on? Guess what? Y'all. They're going to be talking about what the Midtown board did it. You know, did it. So let's think about it before you agree with this. Please think about it. Think about the bad parts of it. And when you set precedents, people, I had to learn this, send it where Mr. Ivy is. When you set a precedent, man, it's hard to walk that sucker back. It's hard. I want people to make money, but do it the right way. Get on ISB, go to Miss Hurd. Say, look, Miss Hurd, I want to set up a booth. You all can do the Crab Shack, and all those people can do Facebook pages. Most people that come here, y'all know that better than me. They get online and look at Facebook. Get on CVB websites. You know, y'all can do that. People do that these days when they want to go to somebody. If you want to go to New York, you're going to get online and say, well, I want to go visit this. I want to go over here. I want to do this. They can get on Facebook. CVB has a free website they can get on to advertise Crab Shack, the motorcycle place, whatever. That's a free one for CVB. I've already talked to them. I've told them to go down and talk to these people to get them on the website, the CVB website. Okay? And it's free to those vendors and for anybody if you want to do something, those businesses on ISB to make their business, I guess more people come to their businesses during Bike Week. And if they want to do things during Bike Week, go and get a space. They can pull RFPs in those places. So there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it without making it clutter and nasty looking and an eyesore to what we're trying to do. We're trying to clean it up. We ain't trying to make it bad, and just because it's 3 or 4 days or 2 weeks, it's still going to set a precedent, and it's going to make us look bad. So think about that, please, while you're trying to maybe vote on it later or whatever it is you're going to do. But just think about that. Also, Reed Berger, you and I have had our issues, but I know I heard you say 2 years at that workshop. And I've been in talking to other people also, and nobody says this plan is going to take 2 years to pass. And if we keep letting staff run us, they're going to run this plan out of existence, and we're going to be back to square one. Please don't let them do that. Please make sure that staff, and you may have to call, you may have to fight, and it's not saying my baby, Mr. Ivy and I, and all of us, we talk about the word fight, but advocate for this plan to be approved, because nothing can happen without the plan being approved. Staff knows that, and they're dragging their feet to make sure that it doesn't happen, because they don't want it to happen. This board has got to stand up and do the right thing, and understand that you want it nice. You want to be able to take your kids somewhere. You want to be able to take your wife, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever it is you're taking, to a nice place in the Midtown area. And we can do that. We have all the necessary tools to do that. Okay, you want me to sit down? Bye.
Thank you.
Good evening to the board. Pierre Lewis, 130 South Franklin Street. It's good to see the board once again. I kind of had my comments. I was going to talk about wireless, and I was wondering what was going on with that. But one of the things that caught me off guard was the discussion about the expansion of the vending. So I guess my biggest question is the area that we're talking about when they say the largest biker place, are we talking about the Motorworks? That's the place that we're talking about, the one that sits right at my backyard? Yeah. The one who's my backyard runs right there. That's where the vending would be till late at night, late hours and stuff. Well, I'll hold my comments because I know they said that we were going to discuss that earlier. I'm all for increasing the tax base and understanding that profits have to be made and stuff like that. And I can put my personal kind of feelings on the side to understand that Midtown does need to be redeveloped. I don't stay up late at night. I go to bed early. This is my night out. Midtown board meeting. So there's a lady. I'm almost past my bedtime now because I'm an early sleeper. But so to have vending and stuff. However, that's personal. I'll just say that I table that mentally to see what it will do as far as improve the area. Because I know we need those resources. I know we need that revenue that's going to be built within the Midtown area. So I'm kind of sitting on the fence, but that's my backyard, 130 South Franklin Street. So when they start to do vending and they start to think that something's going to go late at night, they're going to leave or they're going to throw trash. All of those little things, we don't know exactly what's going to happen until it actually occurs, but I'm hoping that we will have further discussions on that particular part that's there. I was glad to see that the city's new website is up. That looks really nice. A lot of the departments, I saw that. It was a pleasure to see that. And I was also glad to see that, I don't know what the provisions are as far as the new peers, the contracts and stuff is concerned. But I know from some reason or other, I get all these emails about Joe's Crab Shop. Mm-hmm. It's happening here, it's happening there. This event is occurring, this event is occurring. And I did some looking, and I looked at that and I said, well, part of that the city receives certain revenue. So I assume that's why they promote it. But I would think that all the businesses, if somebody's paying taxes, the city receives some sort of revenue there too. So if you're going to promote one business at the level, and I mean at the level, yes. I get a lot of email about Joe's Crab Shop, and I understand, I know the partnership, I know that has to exist, but I would think we still have to have a certain level to say that we promote the other businesses that are there. I read the agreement, I looked at it. I'm a reader, so I like to read stuff. I looked at that and I saw the article in the paper. I also saw that one of the gentlemen said that he couldn't disclose, it was private information. He couldn't really disclose the financial statements. But I was cautioned when I went on the city's website, I looked at the budget. And the budget, which is a huge document, is 440 pages thick. Now, you can't download that, not in my office. It's too many pages. You can't do that. But it's 440 pages. But I also looked at page 7. And page 7 of that 440-page document has that hierarchy, that organizational chart. It talks about the finance and the budget of the city. And guess what? At the top of that, it says, who's in charge of the budget? It says the citizens of Daytona Beach. That's the very top box is what it says. The citizens of Daytona Beach, and then it says the city commission, then it says the office of the city attorney, the city clerk, board, et cetera, et cetera. But it says the citizens of Daytona Beach. So it cautions me to one point to understand this, and I won't take up too much of the board's time, but to say that it's our responsibility, my responsibility, and the citizens' responsibility to say to government when they feel that things are not occurring the way that they should. It's a tongue-in-cheek, it's a catch and pull. It is my responsibility as a citizen, and definitely as a retired Marine Corps officer, because a Marine Corps officer is not a rank, it's an office. The person that signs that warrant is the President of the United States. That's it. So I'm cautioned by 3 words that you're taught at the officer school, which I like Reverend Gooding, but when he said that the city commission will pass certain things and you have no way of doing something about it, I respect him a lot. But I will say this 3 words that's taught to me at officer school. The Constitution starts with 3 beautiful words. It says, we the people. And the reason that document, the framers said, we the people, is because it's a checks and balances. The framers wrote that Constitution because they said that the government is not to keep the people in check. The people are to keep the government in check. It is not for the government to use that against the people. It's because we're supposed to do our part, to be well-informed citizens, to work for the betterment of our particular community, but it starts with those 3 words. And they're right over a placard at my house. It says it right there, right on my uniform. It says, we the people. So I'll do my responsibility to be good citizens. But I want the government to do their responsibility and the city commission to do their responsibility to understand that nobody, no human being in government goes unchecked. Nobody. Not me. Not nobody. Thank you.
Before I get, are there any more comments? If not, before I get to the board comments, I wanted to make sure I recognize Attorney Debbie Holinsky. She's the one that prepared the grant for the Halifax Village 2. Debbie, can you come up a minute? Ms. Holinsky went out of her way to prepare this grant, and nobody knowed about it. And I'm glad I have a relationship with a lot of people in this city that really looks out for our community. And if I had to give out a community award right now, I would give it to you, Ms. Holinsky, because you are one of the first that took the master plan that has not been adopted and showing that it can work. So with that in mind, can you just take a few minutes, introduce yourself to the board, and also just talk a few minutes about the grant that you submitted?
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I'm an attorney, work for Community Legal Services, and over the course of the last 3 years, I think I first came and spoke to the board when I began working on my project regarding the preservation and the growth of affordable housing. And since that time, I've become, very involved, I have to say, in the Sanford area, because that has just been a hotbed of so many issues, and I was involved with that litigation. But really the beginning of my effort started here in the Midtown area with Daytona Village and how we were going to actually clean that up. And those relationships that were forged at that time with code enforcement and the police department really have become lasting. I do my best to hang in there to make sure that we actually form those relationships so that we can improve the community. During the course of my work, I come across so much information, just an overwhelming amount of information, and I've come to realize just how many grants and funding opportunities are out there, and we really don't have a common vehicle to get our hands on them. I've had the benefit of being able to go to Washington a number of times and come in contact with a lot of other groups that take advantage of these funding opportunities. Many of them are in other parts of the United States, and this particular grant also is out of MetLife and the LASC, the LISC community, and they regularly sponsor and announce different grant opportunities and focus in on the individual communities. And so I look at those, and I came across this one. It was primarily designed for partnerships between the community and the police department, and it's free money. And so I said, oh, well, we did something here. We worked together with code enforcement and the police department. Well, I'll just write this up. What have we got to lose? Nothing. And so we did get invited to the second round. But the importance of this, if we're able to just latch into these few, is a little story that'll highlight this community effort, which is small. But that Midtown Master Development Plan is broader. And if we don't get this, what I see and what excites me is that any part of that master plan shows that a community, a grassroots community, has worked together. And whether it's one corner of that master plan being completed over there by Daytona Village or over here or over there, every one of those efforts qualifies for application for these grants. And this is not just, $5,000, $25,000, or $50,000, but that's money that you can use for any purpose. And so I see this as just one little project that every year members of this board and the community will say, well, wait a minute, we need to apply for that. Let's not forget to apply for that. And so I'm hoping that this little effort, yes, it's a lot of work, will attract the few individuals in the community to keep a lookout and make sure that we continuously apply, because these applications publish a story. Those stories are the stories that when you're going to the HUD website and they're showing who they gave a Blue Ribbon Award. I'll give you a perfect example. HUD gave a Blue Ribbon Award to a little preservation project out in California. Now, this is one of their top awards. And if you haven't been there, it'll knock you over, because it was nothing to my eyes, and I don't want to, be condescending or degrading, but it was a motel that had been renovated, very little. I think the swimming pool became the community center for seniors. Well, we look all up and down A1A and pick out anything to do that, and many of the developers in and around our community can do that. And you would never have believed that they got several $1 million and an award for doing it. And these are things that, and doing, see, I get all excited. But what I've also found is that all of these winners of these various awards in the stores are very free with giving you their plans, what they did, and how they got the funding. And that's how they get the funding. They seize on a project. There's developers throughout the country, and we're in a state that has, to this point in time, really not seized upon those opportunities. And as bad as the tension is in the Sanford area, from my standpoint, it's an opportunity for us to recognize that it's publicity. People are looking at not just the Sanford area, but this entire region. And we're poised on a precipice of access to funding that is also tied to our rail system. So having this master plan and having it now and in picture format allows me to have it with me and show those developers that I meet every day. Currently, I've just become a member, if you will, on the East Central Regional Planning Council that is looking at sustainable communities. They just got a $2.5 million planning grant. So as that will be something that will allow, the more I know about this plan allows me to keep that before the same group of people so that we work closer and closer together. So hopefully in the next 6 months, there's just more opportunities. And I certainly will bring them here and keep in close contact with the board to know what your plans and ideas are. So,
Well, Mr. Alinsky, I really thank you for coming out and sharing this information with us, because, again, me and Ms. Ponder, and it's on our list of priorities to get a grant writer just for Midtown. But I thank you because it shows what can be done in our community, how far we're already advanced, and the vision is already being shown outside of our community and is being used. And it's people like Mr. Alinsky that helps us forward the vision and get the message out.
There's a lot of talent.
Thank you so very much. I know I'll be talking to you again real soon, and I'm sure some others will too. I'll make sure Charles have your information, and we'll definitely be getting in contact with you again. And again, thank you for coming out. Thank you for introducing yourself to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Sorry it's late in the meeting, but I wanted to make sure that information got out to the board and to the community. And we're being televised, so hopefully somebody else will look at it and say, okay, well, yeah, we do need to talk to them.
well, I carried the plan around with me, and
Well,
I
that's
think
what I know.
I happened to come to a commissioner meeting, and that Mr. Ivy I said, gee, I don't have a copy of that. Can I have that? And he just handed me his copy. But it's in the moment. You got to take advantage of what you have, and there's a lot of talent in this community that doesn't require that you go and hire consultants from out of town. And so that's really what I'm trying to do, is take better and fuller advantage of our students and law students as you did with the university. And the result is very, very rewarding, but you don't even know the breadth of the people that have gotten involved in that. They walk around and take that with them. And I really, really have high hopes for good things for this area, sooner rather than later.
Well, thank you so very much. Again, thank you so very much. We're going to go with our board comments. I'm going to start with Mr. Wilburn tonight.
Well, I get to go first. I feel kind of funny going in front of the women. But I'd like to say that I'm pleased with the meeting. A little long tonight, but I'm pleased with the meeting and some of the clarifications that we have that we've gotten tonight. And it seems like one of the things that we have to do is we have to figure out the direction and how we attack this thing from the LDC versus the comprehensive plan, and some other things that we can get quagmired in and get ready to move this thing forward. The other thing that I'm going to admonish the board is to get your neighbors involved. Get your neighbors involved and get them here, and so they can be a part of this process, so they can learn as we're learning, and so that when issues come up and there are things to be voted on, so they can be informed. And so once they're informed, they become more interested. Sometimes we're not interested in stuff because we're ignorant to it, and get our community involved. And today, and I'd like to thank Mr. and Mrs. Hill. They're members of my neighborhood watch group, and I encouraged them to come out, and they came out to the last couple of meetings. But I understand that they attend regularly anyway. But that's one of the things that we need to do: galvanize our community to become a support, so they can be informed and they can be part of this whole process. Because after all, we are representing them.
Thank you, Ms. Benjamin.
I'd just like to say thank you, board, for sticking by me during my loss of my mother. And I really appreciate it. I didn't know I was loved by so many people. Thank you very much.
Mr. Tooley.
Thank you, board.
Ms. McMillan.
I see that our fight still continues to be not heard because they hear us, but to be understood, to know that we mean what we say about what we want in Midtown, and when it comes to Midtown, how it has to follow protocol. Good night.
Mr. McGee.
I'm all out of words. Thanks, everybody.
Mr.
It's time for me to get carried out.
Mr. Simonette. I'm sorry, Miss Simonette. Yeah, Miss Simonette, I apologize.
That's okay. I'd like to thank the board, first of all, for honoring Mrs. Bethune tonight. I'm actually the director of the house, so I'm very excited about that. And thank you so much. And Bethune-Cookman College, like our president said, is open, and he's even gave me permission to invite you all to come over there anytime. We could have meetings over there, anything we want. So, thank you.
Dr. Jameson.
I got a little expired a few minutes ago. During one of my previous lives, my life depended on grants, and I remember I worked in the Frenchtown, Tallahassee area, if y'all are familiar with that. And what we primarily did was develop a plan. And with the universities, the city, the county, I begged money from everybody. And we actually got different little money here and there to implement the plan. So I got kind of excited hearing about, you know, I kept looking at our plan and thinking, oh my God, the money. But then it reminded me that we did a lot with a little here, a little there. And there was a journal of philanthropy that just, you'd be surprised at the amount of money people have to want to give away for things we are planning to do anyway. So I'm inspired. That's it.
Ms. Hurd.
To the board, I would like to say that we must continue to stick together, continue this fight, as I can put it. We've started something and we must go through with it. It's going to be hard. We're going to be frustrated and everything. But the bottom line is we're not going to give up. I want you to think, if we don't do something about Midtown, this plan that we've been working on, if we keep sitting back, in the next few years, someone, and that someone is the city, is going to take over all of that property in Midtown. I'm telling you, it's getting crowded over there, so they're going to move west. And if Bethune-Cookman doesn't hurry up and expand, you all going to be left out too, because the city and developers and things are moving west. Mr. Ivey, I applaud you for your work. And Mrs. Ponder, thank you for all that you have done. But I disagree with you, and you know that. I want the international, if it's possible, with the city, the chamber, and everybody to expand, to have vendors. They're not going to be set up like someone on my property with a dingy tent or something like that on ISB. They're going to be set up professionally. So if it can be worked out and done these few days, do so. Imagine Speed Week. Imagine. Hotel room goes from $89 to $350.
400.
400. Parking, $40 per night. Per night.
In the mall.
And it's money to be made, and we are giving it away. Second Avenue cannot hold everything down there. They don't hold what they can hold now. So let's expand, let people come in from nationally, and do whatever they want to do. If they if they be able to get money, sell whatever, marketing, whatever they can, that's them. That's their choice to come and to win or to lose. But we, as the city, will have our money in our pocket. Good night, Mr. Ivy and board, and thanks for coming.
I've let my director down a little bit tonight. I need to let him speak, Mr. Bryant.
Mr. Ivy, you keep trying to make me director, and my boss sitting right there. That's the director right there. I don't want his seat. Okay. I just like to compliment the board on what you've done in the past and what I know you're going to do and continue to do in the future. I want to congratulate Mr. Ken McGee on his being named Hometown Hero. And also like to thank the board as the festival chair for the last 12 years. I'd like to thank the board for your contributions that have went forward as your recommendation to the Midtown redevelopment area, your contributions that helped pay for the cost of the festival and the banquet. This year was one of the largest number of people to attend the banquet. We had over 500 people. As far as the festival, I think it was somewhere between 7,000 plus that attended the festival. It was really good turnout, and the Lord blessed us and kept the weather. He kept it nice until everything was over that day. So I saw a lot of board members at the festival and also at the banquet, and it's a wonderful event for our community. And we've had a lot of positive comments back from the community for both of those events. I also want to remind you on the 26th of July, there's a flyer in your packet. This is the groundbreaking for the construction of Daytona Beach Village Apartment. If you're able to attend, it's going to be at 2 o'clock p.m., 206 North Key Street. I'd like to invite the board members to come out to that to show support of the Daytona Village Apartments. Also, I'd like to take the time to thank two of our board members, our board chair and Mr. Tooley, who took the time to come up to be with me during my brother-in-law's funeral services. You know, I felt real good when I looked around and saw him. I knew my chair was coming. I didn't know. I say Reverend Tooley because he's a member of my church right now. I know my pastor was coming, Reverend Goodman. He always there for me. Reverend Tooley was right there, and he wore two hats that day. He was one of my pastors and also a board member. So it made me feel good to know that they thought enough of me to make the trip to Jacksonville and be with me in that time. And I know I got calls of support from other board members during that time. I'm sorry, Miss Cato, I wasn't able to attend your wedding. I had plans on being there, but I did call you and tell you I couldn't be there, so you wouldn't waste my two spaces. So congratulations on your wedding. I look forward to meeting your husband. I got a few things I need to talk to him about, but anyway, I thank the board for having faith in me and confidence in me. And again, I say pick up the phone, give me a call, email me. I'm out there trying to catch some of the stuff that's out on the street. A lot of it I miss, but that's what part of your job is, to help me see things that I don't see, get the information. Call me, I'll call you back. You know, whenever I get the call, I make my return calls. It might be later, but it's the time that I get it. But please continue to keep me informed on what's going out there and we're looking to clean up the community, and I'll do my part if you do yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we dismiss, I just want to also let the board know one of the reasons why I let a lot of us talk a lot tonight, because we did not meet last month. And I know a lot of things were on everybody's mind. So I know we needed to get it out. So normally, you know, I'll be like, hey, look. But I want to thank you for taking the patience tonight to be here, to go through your packets. I'm really proud the way everybody had the information together tonight. And if you have any more questions, let's continue to move it forward toward Charles. One of the things I'm going to try to do also, once I can get with Reed and Charles, is probably try to have another seminar here within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Not a seminar, workshop. A workshop where we can go over the information, where we can move it forward to make sure that everybody's on the same sheet of music and have the understanding that we need. So we will try to schedule that before the next meeting of the Midtown Redevelopment Board. With that being said, if we miss anything, we'll catch it on the next one. I want to thank you for opening the door and welcoming Bethune-Cookman University and the Bethune family on their day. I'm really proud of you as a board and proud to be your chairman. With that in mind, I have a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that the Midtown Redevelopment meeting be adjourned.
I said.